and I guess a little bit about the podcast as well. So, as Taylor kind of said, like, I think both of us, we're interested in entrepreneurship, and then we're also interested in, meeting entrepreneurs and anyone who's kind of taking the swing and giving it a shot. And I think for us, we've had a lot of ideas over the years. I think we go back and forth and come up with stuff. It's very easy to not take that leap and feel like you have to get all your ducks in a row, and it's tough. So
Mm-hmm.
we want to talk to people who have taken the risk to actually start something. And, I think the people we've spoken to, there's been a common theme of a lot of them are starting it, even if they don't feel quite ready. So that's kind of where the name came from. So, we want to talk to people like yourself who are out there doing stuff. So, that's a little bit about the podcast. But yeah, to set the scene, we would love to know a little bit about you. I know you're in Brampton now, but where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? I think things like that would be really cool.
So, all Ontario. I was born in Scarborough. I spent most of my life in Oshawa,
Okay.
and then we moved from the East End to the West End to Georgetown. And I was living at home in Georgetown during university. So I went to Ryerson, now called Toronto Metropolitan
Yes.
University. But when I went, it was called Ryerson. I didn't go for fashion at all. I actually went for business,
Okay.
specifically retail management. I think I had a little bit of a misconception going into university, thinking that retail kind of signified fashion, but it didn't. I actually, when I was younger, wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
And in high school, I got a prestigious internship at the Attorney General's office.
Okay.
And I did that co-op, and I realized I did not want to be a lawyer. I've always been interested in fashion, so maybe I was just always destined to land in fashion, but always thinking stability. I thought maybe I could take my undergrad in business, and then if I wanted to pursue law, I could use that as a stepping stone. I graduated with my business degree, and during university, I worked at an American bank,
Okay.
the head office of an American bank. And they actually hired me on full time after I graduated. So I thought that was just going to be the trajectory of my life, follow in my parents' footsteps, just the typical 9 to 5
Yeah.
corporate job, not entrepreneurial at all. Like both my parents, they did not own businesses. They both had typical 9 to 5 salary jobs.
Okay.
And then that bank ended up closing in Canada. They stopped servicing customers. So they stopped B2C and business to customer
Yeah.
and,
Yeah. Yeah.
finance.
Sorry. Yeah.
And so eventually I was gonna get laid off from that job. So I thought that was the perfect time to pursue one of my passions, which was fashion. So I kind of had that typical, not a typical start to my entrepreneurial venture because I had a full-time job.
Yes.
And with the with knowing that I was going to eventually not be in that job or in that role, I thought, how can I start to pursue something that I'm passionate about? So I ended up calling um, a bunch of artist agencies in Toronto. They still exist. And one of the ones that I got in contact with was Judy Inc.
Okay.
And they represent makeup artists, fashion stylists, prop stylists, hairstylists, kind of everybody in that artistry field. And they said you need a portfolio before we can take you on. So I took 8 months and I just started doing creatives, which was, if for people that don't know, a creative is just photo shoots that you just do on your own. You find your own models and photographers and people that you want to collaborate with to help build your portfolio. And that is basically what you would submit to them in order for them to take you on, and represent you. So I did that. And 8 months later, I called them back saying, "Hey, I have a portfolio now." And um, before we could even set up a meeting, 2 days later, they called and asked if I had a car and if I would be willing to drive one of their senior fashion stylists to a doctor's appointment. This was pre-Uber, so they said he'd pay you, he just needs a ride to a doctor's appointment. I know it's not glamorous, it's not being on set or
Yeah.
what you're thinking of or wanting to do, but you can pick his brain while you're in the car. So I just thought, hey, this could be my chance, so why not? And we hit it off. I picked him up from his place. I drove him to his appointment. I picked his brain, and that's kind of how it started. But funnily enough, I don't think I ever assisted him. It was just that job. And he
Yeah.
said, "Oh, you seem great." And he said, I'll definitely recommend you to the agency." And after that, they just kept calling, and it snowballed from there, where I would just take on, whatever job they would throw at me, even free jobs, just networking and whatever I could get.
Yeah. So your first job in fashion was driving as fashion stylist to the doctors.
Totally.
Yes. Okay. So that's very cool. So basically, so you had the idea once you knew your job at the bank was going to come to an end, and then you wanted to get into fashion. So what inspired, I guess, the route to go with an agency? Is that kind of like the only way to do it as a stylist, or was there like another route? And then I
Um,
guess related to that is like, what was the steps for putting together your portfolio? Like, was it just totally based on like your sense of style and you were able to put it together, or did you like get help? What was that like?
Back then it was different because it was pre-social media and like no Instagram and everything like that. So I believe it was the only stepping stone. I mean, now there's so many resources for people that want to be stylists because you could just get out there. There's influencers, you could get your name out there without an agency. It helps because they are very well connected, but you can do it now without. So back then, I thought that was my only route, and um, so yeah, there's multiple artist agencies in Toronto, globally actually, but I'm based in Toronto,
Yeah.
so um, but how did I get my start? Is that what you said?
Sorry. How did you like put together your portfolio then? Like, did you have any
Oh,
training or any
so
help, or what was that like?
no, it's truly off of instinct and your own like creative style. That's how people, I guess, judge your sense of style or how, what creative vision you have. I didn't really know any models or anything, but my cousin was a photographer, so he helped me. I did, a kids photo shoot with two kids that I knew at the time. I mean, I still know them. They're not kids anymore,
Yeah.
but and then two friends of mine that just loved taking photos as well. And you just meet people, you email people that want to get in the industry as well. Makeup artists. I didn't use any makeup artists or hairstylists at the time. I probably should have. I can't look at those photos from back then. But um, there's always people that are willing to collaborate with you. So I think now it's a little easier with, there's so many resources now that
Yeah.
allow you to find people that want to build their portfolio as well.
When you were getting started, how were you interested from the time you were like younger, always in fashion and styling, or was it something that you developed later in life? Like how did you learn? Because it's seems like something maybe you were just always interested in.
I feel like fashion was just something that was innate. I was always a passion of mine. I feel like since I was young, maybe 5 years old, I've loved clothes. Um, just watching red carpets and award shows was always big in my house. So I think my I attribute a lot of my love for fashion to my dad's mom. My grandmother, she passed away before I was born, but it's almost innate that she was very into fashion as well, and I think she passed that down to my dad, and he passed that down to me in a way. I mean, it's something that I just picked up. It wasn't like I learned it. I actually did go to school at George Brown. They had a fashion styling certificate. Education is very big in the Filipino culture, so I just thought that, maybe pursuing fashion but with an educational certificate would be beneficial. So I did that, and that's kind of how it grew. I don't know if there's any real answer. I just feel like it was more innate.
Yes. Oh, that's very cool. Go ahead.
Uh, when you took the fashion, like the formal education, do you feel like you learned from it, or was it more you could have done this on your own, but this gave you kind of a structured way to do it? Did you feel like you got value out of it?
I did, yeah. I mean, there was things, color blocking, like the color theory and just certain things that you picked up. I mean, a lot of fashion is so subjective that I don't think you can learn it. I think, especially now, everyone's style is so personal to them. So I don't think you can teach that, but there's certain theories that you can learn. So I did learn things taking the certificate, and then I actually ended up teaching the class for 2 years after that because the girl that was running the course, she wanted a break, so I took over her class, not right away, but maybe 2 years after that for 2 years.
Oh yeah. I actually am taking one of the courses for that certificate right now. So
Oh, really?
yes, I think the instructor now is Michelle Townsend. I think her name
Is it
is.
Michelle Walk?
Oh yes, sorry. I think that's right. It's Michelle is the first name for sure. For sure. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's who I took. She was my teacher,
Oh,
and
that's
then
so funny.
she was
Yeah.
the one that called me if I wanted to teach the
Okay, yeah, yeah,
course.
yeah. So yes, I just signed up for the first one. So I think I'm like halfway through it. So I've been enjoying it so
Oh,
far.
that's cool.
Yes, yeah,
What
yeah.
class?
I think it's like intro to styling or something like that.
Yeah, that's
Yes,
that's like totally it. Yeah, I did all that. I think you needed like 8 courses to take to receive the certificate, to
yes,
complete the
exactly.
certificate.
So
So
I'm
yeah.
I'm very early on, but I'm enjoying it so far. But
Well, if you need any help.
okay, I will definitely reach out.
Yeah.
I did my first like lay flat photo, and I didn't get the best feedback on it, so I might need to get some
Oh, perfect.
my
I do
lighting and
that
stuff.
regularly.
I forgot like props and stuff, so yeah. But anyway, so when you made that move from going from a bank to pursuing styling full time, and you went with an agency, like when you go to an agency, do you get a salary, or do they just like represent you and find work? So like, was it going from like a full time salary to now all of a sudden you have to hustle
Yeah,
to? Yeah. Okay.
totally. So I attribute a lot of my courage to do this to my former boss, because I knew, or she knew, that eventually we would all get let go from the company. Whenever I would get a call from the agency to do a job, she would say, "It's okay, you don't have to come in tomorrow," which in a real full-time role, that would never happen.
Yeah.
So I always tell the story that I attribute a lot of like my courage to do this to her, because it is scary to take that leap. And
Yeah.
truly, when you're not quite ready, you don't know if you should quit your job or pursue something you're passionate about that you may or may not make money at. So no, the agency doesn't pay you. They just represent you and hopefully find you work. It's not always guaranteed. And then, they just put your name out there and they take a cut from whatever money you make.
And was there any moment? Because I imagine like once you started, you could have gone back to working at a bank. Was there any moment where you felt like going back to the safer route, or once you were in, were you fully in?
I just loved it so much from the beginning that I don't know if I could turn back. I like having control of my schedule. I like the freedom of it all, but it was definitely scary. And like I'd say the first 1 to 5 years of becoming freelance, that you don't know if you're gonna make money this year or not, or how many jobs you're gonna get this year. I mean, thankfully I did live at home at the time, so it
Yeah.
wasn't as scary financially. But yeah, I mean, there you could go months without working.
And so how did you kind of handle that uncertainty? Like, was that a challenge for you, like with your mental makeup? Or are you always good with
Yes.
uncertainty? Like,
No,
no.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
So I think it's just something learned that, after being in the industry for so many years, you kind of learn the ebbs and flows of the seasons and the busy times, and when you're not going to be so busy, and kind of when you have downtime, because when it is busy, it's extremely busy and you don't have any downtime, and when it's not busy, you could be not working for like a month. So I think you just learn when to take those breaks, and yeah, but like over time you grow your network, I think, and that's who keeps you busy and who hires you. But unfortunately, the way the seasons fall, like the fashion seasons fall, everybody wants to hire you at the same time, and then the slow period is all at the same time. So I just said, I wish you guys could spread out all your jobs throughout the whole year, and then it would be fine.
Yes.
Do you feel like getting laid off, you would have been able to make the leap if that hadn't happened? Because I know for me, I've been laid off and it forced me to learn skills and was ended up being a really good thing for me professionally. I'm curious if you see it the same way or if you think that it just was inevitable that you would have made that leap.
No, I agree with you. I think the fact that the company was closing helped me see things and move in a different direction, because I like stability and I don't like change. So I feel like I would have probably just stayed in that corporate job and maybe moved up or moved to a different corporate job. I don't know. Like, I've always loved fashion, but I didn't know that I was ever going to pursue it as a career. And I don't know how much you guys know about the Filipino culture. My parents aren't traditional at all, but traditionally, Filipino parents, like, they like stability. You go to school, you get a job. There's a lot of creative and artistic Filipinos, but it's not always encouraged to pursue it as a career.
Yeah.
Do you feel that that gave you more motivation once you did make the jump, or was it something that kind of stressed you out more?
No, I think it gave me motivation because I was already in it and I saw that you could make a career out of it. You saw the people that were constantly working on commercial sets or editorial sets, and you said, like, I could do this. I could make a career out of this. And maybe being exposed to it helped me see that I could do it as a career full time.
Yeah. So, you made that leap, and I know you said you were living at home, so that kind of helped. And the layoff was kind of the thing that, or the company closing down was kind of what, prompted you to go. How long did it take you, I guess, since you made the move to becoming a stylist to like make up like the salary that you were making at the bank? Was that something you immediately happened, or did it take a lot of
Oh, no.
years to get
Yeah,
back?
I
Yeah.
think like maybe, I don't know exactly, but 5 plus years.
Okay.
Like,
So,
between 5 and 10 for sure. And like I've been a stylist for 15 now. Like, maybe not quite 10, but not in the first few years, that's for sure.
yeah. So it wasn't something that like you made the move and then immediately you were in. No. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of the time when you're working in the beginning, you're taking like jobs for free just to network and get on different sets. And when you're getting paid regularly, it's a good rate. But I mean, the thing is, you're unsure of how regular or consistent it's going to be. So after I've networked myself for so many years, I think it's pretty consistent now. But
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm sure for everybody, the economy's so uncertain, so it could be whatever.
Yes. Okay, Taylor.
So, do you feel being in Toronto, um, obviously it's not LA or New York City, anything like this? Do you see that as a disadvantage, or do you feel like it gives you an advantage because it's a more like a community where once you get established, there's maybe less competition, or how do you see that?
It depends on what you want. I always think about it this way. Like in Toronto, you could be a big fish in a small pond. But if you go to LA or New York, always see people. I mean, this is just my interpretation of it because I'm not a stylist there, but I feel like in LA or New York, you're like a small fish in a big pond. So it just depends on there's way more opportunity there, but you're competing with so many other stylists. I mean, Toronto has a big roster of stylists too, but I'd say the industry as a whole is very small.
And so when you started working with the agencies, were you always doing, because I know on your website you do both commercial and celebrity, were you always doing both? Did you start
Mhm.
out doing one? Was there like, I imagine celebrity is probably a little tougher to get into, but was it like, what was that art kind of like?
No, I was never always doing celebrity. Actually, I think in the beginning I did a lot of commercial work. There was a lot of there may be still, but I don't do it as much. There was a lot of commercial work in Toronto, TV commercials specifically, but commercial can refer to like advertisements for big retail brands. But in the beginning, I think I was doing more commercial work. I assisted a lot of people, and I think that is what gave me the stepping stone and the confidence to become a key stylist because I assisted for so long. And I think I probably assisted for probably longer than I should have. I should have made the leap to become an assistant to a key sooner, but I mean, I just didn't mind assisting, to be honest, in the beginning. I learned so much, and you're always on set, and you could bounce from stylist to assisting stylist to stylist, and you were still part of the action, but a lot of the pressure didn't fall on you. So I think I got a little comfortable as an assistant, and then I don't know, one day you grow up and you and you're like, I want to be one of the big kids.
Yeah.
So maybe you could define what the key stylist and the assistant is and what the difference is, because I'm not sure I understand.
So when you're assisting, the key stylist is just the main stylist on the job. So it can be, for example, the tasks vary per job, but typically the key is the person who gets hired, and the assistant just helps them with whatever they need help with. So the vision typically is the key stylist vision, and the assistant just helps on fittings or, steaming or any doing pickups or returns, any tasks that the key stylist needs help with, the assistant does that. And then the key stylist, they are the lead stylist on the job, and it is their vision. Of, depending on the job, a lot of the time there's a lot of creative leads. Brands have creative leads that the stylists take their direction from.
Gotcha. So, one thing I was wondering about. So you made the leap to go into fashion. You're working with an agency, but I know now you are like completely independent, right? So, what was that like? What prompted you to leave working with an agency and just go your own, like represent yourself?
So after Judy Inc., I went to the next agency, which was P1M. And I don't know, just one day I don't think having an agency is a bad thing. It just depends on what clients you have, what you want out of your career. And I think I networked myself enough I don't want to say not need an agency, but I just eliminated the middleman and I just did everything on my own. Invoicing, phone calls, emails, things that typically your agent would do on your behalf.
Great. And how did that sort of impact like the amount of work you get? Like, did your work decline? What did you have to like, network more, do cold reach outs more? Or was it kind of, you'd been, in the industry long enough that it was pretty seamless?
Yeah, fortunately it was pretty seamless. I think I got busier
Oh
actually.
yeah.
And that's not a deterrent to having an agent at all. But I think that clients, because you pay an extra on top when you have when you have an agency, your agent takes money from you, but they also charge the client a bit more, a percentage more. So I think sometimes clients like to use independence. That's not everybody. With my clients, I just kept pretty much the same clients after I left.
Yeah, we did an episode with Steven where he was talking about Preacher, and we found he can talk to it, but the same thing with agents where some agencies sometimes it's better just to go directly to the creative if you can because you get actually better quality because you're able to have that direct dialogue. I, do you use particular software or workflows that help you handle that business side to be able to focus on the core value you provide, or how do you manage that?
Like you mean my business side, like QuickBooks
Yeah,
or
so it's
creative?
like invoicing, like are you using like do you have particular like kind of strategies that you use to help make you efficient enough that you're able to not spend all your time on the non-stylist work?
Oh, I love QuickBooks. I use that and I recommend it to all independents. I invoice weekly. I think that's what helps me stay on top of it. If I took any more time, I'm sure I would lose track, but it's such an organized platform and very easy to use that I think um, it's a great system for any independent to stay on top of more of the business aspect of it.
So now at this point, you like I said earlier, on your website you have both celebrity and commercial. What would be kind of like the breakdown of your work mix? Like, is it mostly commercial still with the odd celebrity? Is what's kind of like your main
Funnily,
clientele?
funnily enough, I don't advertise it too much on my website, but I do more, like you said, lay downs, like
Oh yeah,
flat lay that you were
that
talking
I failed
about.
at. Yeah, yeah. I'll have to look at
Yeah,
yours.
it's not the glamorous side
Yes.
of things, but it is the more consistent work. And I think with so many retailers going online these days that they constantly need updated photos, just photos of their product to be sold. It's like I said, not glamorous, so I don't advertise it as much, but I'd say a majority of my work is that, and then everything else kind of just trickles in. And thankfully, I have a consistent client that hires me to do their e-com,
Oh yeah.
and I learned how to photograph too, so that is that helps me there. And I just go in, and whenever I get a bigger job, then they let me go. So it's pretty flexible. Like being able to control my own time, and I think that's the best part about being freelance.
Yeah. So, so I guess now, like, I think you said you've been styling for 15 years. So it was 15 years ago that you left the bank, and now, you're an independent stylist. It sounds like you're getting consistent work. So it was obviously a long journey, a lot of ups and downs. But was there anything, like, if you were to go back and talk to the version of yourself when you were at the bank, like, is there anything you would tell them that would, like, help the process? Any big regrets, any big stumbling blocks? Or would you not change a thing? Curious as you reflect on it, what comes to mind?
Not necessarily that far back, but I think I would push myself harder to become a key stylist sooner. Like not as far back as the bank, but I would not get comfortable in the assistant stylist role. Like some of the girls that have assisted me now are so gung ho on becoming a key stylist that they're getting to levels faster than I did back then.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of them. So I think I not as far back as the bank, but I would just push myself harder to become a key stylist sooner.
Yeah. And do you think that's just your personality? Like, you're very respectful. You don't want to, like, step on people's toes. Like, why do you think, you were hesitant to push to be key stylist?
Um, I don't know. I don't like change too much, so
That's
I
fair.
got comfortable and maybe I I feel like I'm a fast learner, so I could have done it. I got comfortable and you just I didn't want to maybe I didn't want to ruffle too many feathers, but you get confident over time.
Do you think social media plays a role in how people now maybe are more confident because they're seeing others at the same level as them, maybe growing differently, or sorry, growing faster? Or do you think social media isn't like, how do you see that impacting how your industry operates nowadays?
Oh, social media has a huge impact on the industry. It could be good or bad depending on how you look at it. I think um, it provides a platform to people for people to get their work out there um, to a majority of people faster. But I also think it creates this comparison narrative where you're just constantly comparing your work to other people's work and maybe not getting as many likes on your work as you had hoped or not so nice comments. So I feel like social media, depending on what level you're at and how strong you are mentally, plays a big role in the industry.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess some questions about your work now. So, you've obviously done a lot of shoots, done a lot of work. Is there one shoot that sticks out to you that was like a big moment for you that you were really proud, that like felt like a significant moment in your career, or like a favorite moment from a shoot that you've done, or styling?
Oh, there's so many. There's so many. Um, Yeah, I work with I did this program, this YouTube series called What Do You Wear?
Okay.
It was in collaboration with Holt Renfrew and then Uninterrupted Canada. So for people that don't know, Uninterrupted is a sports media company and Holt Renfrew is our Canadian luxury retailer. So Holt Renfrew has been a client of mine for many years. I started off as an assistant and kind of worked my way up and they hired me to be the stylist for the series. So you'll see on my website or on my Instagram, they did partnerships with Toronto athletes or Canadian athletes,
Yeah.
and I would curate kind of a section of the store of things in their style and in their size, and they would walk around and pick things that they would like while being interviewed by a member of Uninterrupted's team. So I feel like just being able to do that and be a part of that series has been like a major, major milestone for me. I'm a huge sports fan, so just being able to meld both of my passions like together has been amazing for me.
Yeah. What sport are you most into?
I like soccer, but
Okay.
I think that's more globally and international, so probably basketball.
Okay.
I've gotten more into hockey.
Oh yeah. That's funny. So who is the first celebrity that you styled, and like was that a big? How did you get that job? I imagine that's probably pretty competitive.
Um, it was probably years ago, and I was an assistant on a movie set. So I don't know if you guys know an actor. His name is Lorenz Tate. So
Sounds
helped on.
familiar.
So he's been in movies back in the day, but he did film a movie here, and I assisted on that set for a week. So I got to style him. So I think that was the first ever celebrity I got to work with. I feel like I've worked with a lot more athletes than celebrities per se, but I mean, it's all the same these days, I feel.
Yes, yes, especially in
He
Canada.
was on Power, wasn't he? Was he Power?
I think so. Do you guys know the movie Crash?
I
I haven't
don't
seen
think I do
Crush.
know.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. So
Okay.
anyways,
Yes.
maybe not big as
No, he's a big star. I just looked him up and I recognize him. He's definitely a big star.
Yes.
yeah,
Oh,
he's probably like the first big celebrity that I ever worked with, but
okay. And you've obviously done a lot of athletes. I saw on your website you've done like Nazem Kadri, Mitch Marner, Grady Dick. So how did you? Was that getting into that world from that Holt Renfrew gig that you got, or was that just something where like you style one and then they've referred you, or how did that kind of go?
So that's all part of the web series, like the YouTube
Yeah.
series,
Okay.
The Uninterrupted, and it's all, I think we've done now 11 episodes or maybe more, but I think it's 11. And each talent was the talent on each episode. So Grady was one, Nazim was one, RJ Barrett was one, and on and on.
Who would you say had the best style out of all of them? Like with before you
Oh.
assisted. Um,
Oh, Gary Trent Jr. had a really cool style.
okay.
And funnily enough, I think he was one of the first people that I worked with. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
for that series,
Yes. Okay.
he had a really cool style.
That's very cool. So, and would there be like, I mean, this might be a weird question, but is there any celebrity that like would be like your dream to style? And I think I've asked this because it seems like you do a lot of men, but do you also do like women styling as well? Or is it lean more towards
Um,
men?
Not as much in terms of like celebrity per
Yeah.
se, but um, who was my probably like Rihanna.
Rihanna. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure she has her own style and doesn't need me to tell her what to wear, but probably her.
Oh, and this is related. Sorry, I'm asking a bunch in a row. But what celebrity would you say has the best style? Like, is there any, or you can say multiple that like you reference in your work or look to for inspiration?
Um, right now, he's a guy, so I think I love Timothy Chalamet's style right now.
Yeah. Okay.
I love his stylist is also Kendrick Lamar's stylist, but I love what he's wearing right now.
Okay. That's good to know.
How did you develop your own style? Do you look to others and make like mood boards and experiment, or do you have an approach that you take, or is it just kind of a little bit more you just go with it? And like, is it structured, or do you have any tips for those trying to
Um,
develop their own?
Not so much structure. I mean, I do watch the fashion shows. I do follow what's trending, but I don't try to match my style too closely to each trend. I go with what works for me. And to me, comfort is everything. Like I don't, when people are uncomfortable in their clothes, it shows. Like no matter how good they look, if they're not comfortable, like to me, I'm not about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not to say be sloppy, but I mean, you can look good and feel comfortable at the same time.
Yes. Do
Is it
you?
easier to style men or women?
I think I have more experience with men, so I'd say men.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're just way more easygoing. I think
Yes.
women are just more critical about how they look that um they have more opinions.
Do you have a favorite?
Way more
Do you have a favorite brand that you like to put people in?
that I like to put people in. Uh Not necessarily. I think I follow kind of what their tastes are.
Yeah.
And I can't say like, oh, I like to put someone in a specific brand. I kind of just have to learn client by client.
Yeah.
I have brands that I like their style. It doesn't work for every person. So
So you personally though, like, is there one brand that you really like to wear? Then I guess for yourself that you like admire what they
uh
do.
if I could pick one brand, I mean, I don't know if there's a budget for it, but one brand that I would personally wear always is Loewe.
Oh yeah. And how come? Like,
Yeah.
why Loewe?
I think it's quiet luxury. That was like a big trend.
Yeah, the
Just
Succession vibe.
very
Yeah.
subtle and just luxe and not too loud, not over the top. I think they do it well.
Yeah. And what would be a brand that you think is overrated? Now we're juicy questions.
Uh, Balenciaga.
Balenciaga. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I guess kind of related. So you're obviously a stylist, but did it ever cross your mind? Did you ever want to become a designer?
It's such a different animal. So no, I think like I'll leave the designing to people that can draw and have that kind of more mindset, the sewing and the drawing. I like working with designers and collaborating, but designing I don't think is for me.
No. How do you find the Canadian culture for like clothing, like in terms of like are there lots of designers or Canadian brands that you style with, or is it usually brands outside of Canada?
No, I think Canada has a lot of great brands. I haven't styled with many recently, but one that I work with regularly is the one that I do their flat lays for. It's a menswear brand actually, funnily enough. They're called Spear and McKay.
Okay.
Um, they model Suit Supply. I don't know if you guys know
Yeah,
who
yeah,
they
yeah.
are. So Suit Supply is the American version, and Spear models their brand after that, I'd say. It's very closely in line with Suit Supply.
Great. And sorry, what was it called? Spear and McKay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll check them out. That's good to know. I've ordered a lot
Yeah.
from Suit Supply, so I'll definitely check
Oh,
them out.
so Spear and McKay is the Canadian version of a Suit Supply, basically.
There you go.
So, and if you need anything.
Yes, perfect.
What's a day to day look like? So you get a contract, and how do you go through the process? Like, do you set up meetings to get their vision? Do you go through like I just really have no idea how this process works. Like, what would it look like? Like, start with the contract, working through to expressing your creative vision. Do you do storyboarding? Anything like?
It all depends on the job specifically. So no day to day really ever looks the same, which is why I think I enjoy doing this job. But I'd say typically a producer would reach out for you to hire you onto a job. They would kind of give you the concept. So you'd work with the producer to get booked onto the job, and then you'd work with the creative director or art director, and they would have a vision. So this is retail specific. So if I'm being hired as a stylist for a Holt Renfrew campaign, for example, the art director would kind of give their vision and storyboard what the campaign is supposed to look like. And then you would use those clothes from the brand specifically if you're supposed to use that, or you would go out and start shopping for clothes. It depends. If it's a TV commercial, let's say for a bank where they don't produce clothes, then you would have to go to the mall and kind of dress the actors or the background actors for the commercial. So it all depends on who's hiring you and what it's for.
Do you enjoy the shopping process? Because that seems like it could be take as much time as the rest of the work if you have to actually go out and start looking in stores.
I Yeah, I love the shopping process. I hate the returns process. So when in the beginning of my career, a lot of assistants hired me to do the returns because that's the part of the job that no one wants to do. But the shopping process is fun. I mean, you get to dress people for certain scenarios, like, someone working as a teller or, a teacher, and you kind of get a vision. And it's funny how specific sometimes these things get. I know you don't think about it when you watch a 30-second commercial, but the amount of time that go and thought that goes into what a person is wearing and what that will convey in the commercial is unfathomable sometimes.
Sounds like it's actually quite related to kind of movie set design. Would you? Because I think also related or something at least to me seems related is like personal shoppers for individual clients who want to hire someone to help them pick out wardrobes, but also I think Holt Renfrew has stylists that will assist their customers. Is that, would you say that's like adjacent? Do people make the jump or transition between and do both, or is that completely unrelated?
I do both. So I do have some personal clients. I just took someone on actually. Her former stylist was based in a specific retailer, so that stylist would only be able to um pitch clothes from that brand from that retailer. But being freelance, I can pretty much buy or take her wherever. But um, so it's a different category of styling. I'd say it's still styling, just a different version of it. But a majority of my career was spent in like more of the commercial and editorial, where you're speaking to art directors and creative directors and conveying a brand message, as opposed to buying clothes for like an individual person.
Gotcha.
So how would you go about getting clients? Obviously, you've mentioned networking quite a bit, building up relationships, but do you think there's new strategies that are important through maybe social media, or is social media there more as like a verification process of, hey, here's my portfolio, you can feel confident hiring me? How do you cold call? Maybe not at this point in your career, but would you see that as being like a key strategy for growing your customer base?
Yeah, for me, social media is, I always say I always want to be better at social media. I don't post as much as I should. But to me, I use that as a verification process, as you said. Just here's my Instagram, here's my website. I've been doing this for a long time. Right now, it's been more word of mouth, luckily, but I am not opposed to cold calling. Like if I'm having a slow period, like I'll email sports agencies to see if like people that are representing athletes need a stylist for, tunnel walks or publications or any commercials that, so I'm not opposed to cold emailing or cold calling
So,
at all.
so how would your cold approach look? Because the people reading it might be busy or they might not fully understand the value you're providing. Like, what's your strategy when you reach out to someone?
Um, I would email, but I feel like there's so many resources, like I said, with LinkedIn and Instagram, like you can find anybody's contact that you need to. I mean, they could be inundated with emails and might skip over, but like I said, if you're determined, if you email 100 people, one person is bound to say yes or look at your portfolio, and that could be the stepping stone to, a new client or a long-term partnership with someone.
Do you find too that it seems like potentially we're getting another sort of technology change with AI coming in? Are you starting to find that affecting how, or maybe as tooling that you might use, or is it still a little bit too early where you're not really adopting any of these new tools? I've just seen some where they're starting to help people, like more e-commerce brands, but visualize how it might fit on a person or develop kind of new ideas. Curious if you're have seen any of that impact yet.
I haven't seen the impact yet, but I feel like as time goes on, um, people might have to pivot on how they market themselves, because AI could potentially take over. Like I said, I do a lot of flat lay, so and like my job may be that job may be eliminated. So, you know, it is I haven't seen any impact yet, but it is crazy from the things I have seen what it can do, and I can only imagine what it's going to turn into in the next couple of years.
So you've been doing styling for 15 years now. So I imagine, um, lots of moments in there that were tough. But was there one moment that you can think of that was like a really tough moment on this journey that made you
Yeah.
almost want to stop? Okay, you had a quick,
It was in the beginning too, and I'll
yeah.
never forget it. I'll never forget it. I was assisting a stylist. For some reason, there was two stylists on the job, so I was assisting one, and the other one also had an assistant. I feel like there was maybe some miscommunication on the set between both, and the direction was given to both of assistants incorrectly, or just people lost their tempers and lost their cool, and I went home crying that day, just because I just didn't feel like I needed to be spoken to that way, and maybe I just wasn't tough enough yet, and I hadn't been in the industry long enough yet. But that, thankfully, that was in the beginning of my career when I wanted to quit, and I told my agency, like, I don't care how much the rate is, I just never want to work with that stylist again, and I never did.
No, and what do you think like gave you the courage or the determination to stay with styling after that?
I think I just didn't want to let that person bring me down or take me away from something that I love doing. I feel like the industry in Toronto's small, but it's big enough that we can avoid each other. So I felt like if I didn't have to work with her or really come into too much contact with her, I would be okay. So that happened. I feel like we maybe bumped into each other once, but I don't even know if she remembers how she treated me.
Yeah.
On the flip side, do you have a moment that really sticks in your head as being like a really big win, like your first one where you felt like you belonged in the new industry after you made the switch?
Um, that's a tough question. I feel like there's many. I feel like when Holt Renfrew hired me for my first big campaign, I was already simultaneously doing the uninterrupted episodes, but they hired me to style their fashion campaign, and that was like a huge moment for me. Um, in Canadian fashion, Holt Renfrew is like our luxury retailer. So it's like when you feels like when you make it there, it's in Canada, it's the top, like the top tier. So that was like a huge moment. And then they show the campaigns at like on the huge screens at Yorkdale and Square One. So that felt like a huge moment for me. I brought my family. They came and saw that my work. It's like seeing your work in big screen, so on 100-foot screen. So that felt like I made it.
Yeah. What what would you say to someone who is thinking about taking the leap, whether that's starting a business, becoming a freelance stylist like yourself, becoming an artist? But they're a little unsure. Is there anything you would say that would help them? I don't know, maybe take that leap to give it a shot.
I always say don't do it for the money. I think if you do something thinking that you're going to get paid, the passion isn't there. And I got into this not knowing whether I was going to make the same money as a full-time job or not. I mean, eventually that came, but like if you just follow your passions and you work hard and you're determined and you kind of take every opportunity that comes to you, I feel like the money will come later. And if not, you'll figure it out. At least you'll just be doing something that you love. And a lot of people don't get that opportunity to live their lives doing things they love. Fortunately, I get to work in a career that I love to do.
If if people you've worked with, companies or other stylists, were asked, what it's like to work with you, what would you hope that they say?
Um, I would hope that they would say that I am a hard worker, easygoing, accommodating in the sense that, if I don't know how to do something or I'll figure it out, that I'll always get the job done and with a smile on my face. I hope I always bring positivity to the sets that I'm on.
Yes, that's good. Well, I know we're no visuals, but you are smiling as you say that, so that's for the listeners. So, yeah.
Where can people follow you or learn more if they want to hire you?
My website is conelistyle.com. So Coneli style.com. And my Instagram is the same at Connelly Style.
Great. And I think one helpful question, because I think a lot of our listeners, we don't have that many right now, but a lot of them are males. What's one tip you would give to guys to improve their style? That's like, because I don't think guys have the best style. So for all our listeners, how would you up their style game?
I think tailoring is important. Like I think guys are easy because you don't need to think too much about your clothes, but fit is so important. So use alterations, get a tailor, get a good tailor that'll make your clothes fit nice.
That's very good. Taylor, I'm not sure if you had any other questions you want to ask.
Well, that's great. I'm writing down notes. So yeah, thank you. This has been great. I learned a lot about stylists, and I didn't know a lot about this, but this sounds really cool.
Yeah, your
Well,
journey is so interesting. Yeah, we're really, really appreciative of you taking the time because I imagine you're extremely busy. So thank you so much.
no problem. If you guys need anything else, I'm happy to take it offline.
Yes, and once it gets warm out, we will definitely do some wake surfing. So
Yes,
we'll make sure we find some time to
can't
do that.
wait.